Ritchie, thanks for joining me. So we'll start by talking about your career. It's been quite a long career, ups and downs.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I was 38 just before Christmas, and I played again around that time, which actually meant I've been playing first team football for 20 years. So when you sit back and reflect on that, you think, I've done great, I've done really well. And I feel, but on the side of it, I also feel really, really privileged because of the work I do at the PFA. I know the fallout rate, I know how the average career is like 6 years, 7 years, something like that. So I feel really fortunate, and therefore I can't ever complain about my career. I've always been around the first team, played 700 odd games, and still to this day, Sunday night, let's say, when some of us, your mates are thinking, I've got another week at work, I can't wait to go to bed to get up, and I've got another week of football. So whilst I'm still doing that, I just want to carry on as long as I can.
You mentioned the fallout rate there from careers being 6 or 7 years. Do you think that's something that's changed from when you started your career 20 years ago to modern day footballers coming in?
No, not particularly. I think it's always been around that. Because of when we leave school at 16, obviously you might have, let's say, 10 scholars probably going into each club for each year. So you'll have 20, not all of them get taken on as professionals. And in fact, today we're probably taking on more professionals each year because of Category 1 academies and Category 2 academies need youth teams, there's under 21 teams, so there's probably more professionals, but still that fallout rate of them having a longevity of a long career through them just getting released or through obviously injuries and things like that. And I suppose that I feel very, like I said before, very, very fortunate. I know lads that I've played with. I spoke to a lad yesterday who was at YTS with 20 years ago. He's still in and around sort of teaching and coaching, and so he's still involved in the game, which is brilliant.
And talking about involvement in the game, what are your plans going into next season? Will you still be on the pitch? Will you be in the dugout? Or
I don't know. I'm hoping to extend my playing career as long as I possibly can. Obviously, I haven't played as much this season since Danny Wilson's come in, a manager I've worked with a couple of times before. I've got all my coaching badges, done an applied management course at Warwick University, so I've used the PFA's education department for my re-education for my next career. But I've started doing a bit with the reserves, started taking the reserves, which is a mixture of lads who need games from the first team, young professionals, which I feel that I can really try and help and educate about, not only about their technical and tactical abilities, but about being a professional footballer, what it takes when you leave the football club, things you do away from here. And then obviously you've got young lads coming through YTSs that need to make that step up. So it's been brilliant for me as a young coach to take that challenge on, and we've had some decent performances and good results. So hopefully that will continue, and if that continues, obviously I can continue with my PFA work as well.
Now, when Saunders came in, he did say there was a role for you at the club, didn't specify what. It did seem to be more of a management coaching role, which has continued under Danny Wilson. How's that going? Yeah,
it's been brilliant. I mean, I can't complain. I mean, like I said, I've so much respect for Danny. I worked with him at Sheffield Wednesday, and then when I was a bit more senior at Hartlepool and we got promoted, and I was captain for him there, and I played a lot of games for him. And if you can't learn off somebody who's managed 1,000 games, so it's brilliant for myself. Me and Chris Morgan are the same age, and we played against each other when we were like 14, 15. So we've known each other a long time, never worked with him at a football club, but I've obviously seen him around and everything. And Mark Crossley as well, played a lot of games. So in terms of us as playing experience, we've got a lot of games between us. And obviously coupled with the managers, his playing experience plus his managerial experience, it's been good, and we'd like to have had more points returned, but I think we've done okay since Danny's come in, and hopefully we continue that to the end of the season.
So we've touched on the PFA, let's talk a little bit more about that now. What is your role? Obviously you're the chairman, what does that entail? What are your main responsibilities?
My responsibilities is to chair the management committee, which is made up of we've got about 18 people on that board now, from the men's and the women's game. We have meetings, a few times a year, which I chair those meetings. But obviously being chair of that management committee, I'm more involved with the executives, with things that go on throughout the year. I attend a few more meetings, and obviously journalists will give me a ring, any matters that arise in some of the, sometimes it's obviously more problematic and they want quotes and statements. So there's that to do with, and obviously that's difficult for me to speak on behalf of all the players without gauging what everybody's thinking, but obviously that's my job, and I try and be balanced and try and do it the best of my ability, and the role is to make sure I'm there first and foremost as the club delegate at this football club, but for the club delegates at the 92 clubs and the women's game, that if they need to speak to me prior to speaking to somebody at the union, then that's fine, that's great. A lot of the times we can just direct them. It might be an educational thing, it may be something about their pension, it may be an ex-player, and obviously I'll know quite a number of them now because most of the lads I've played with who are my age have all finished now, so they may need help with the accident fund or the benevolent fund. But certainly people in the game, it's trying to send the message across that actually there's more benefits to the PFA than you probably think. So if you get on the website, have a look. It's not just about commercial stuff where you might get, you know, a good rate on a leased car or something like that. There's actually so much help, particularly with education, because that's a big thing, and it's a massive driving force of the union, because we're all going to need second careers. Majority is small percentage of our members financially probably won't have to work again, but that's a small percentage. The rest we're going to have second careers. So it's trying to make that transition as seamless as possible from playing, which is difficult to study as well whilst you're still playing and committed to your life as a professional footballer. But it's so important that when you do come out of the game, and that can be any point, we've just touched on that, it can be any point in your career, that you know an area, let's not say something specific, but an area where you'd like to, you know, go into your second career. And it could be, I mean, the most popular ones are obviously coaching, physiotherapy, sports journalism, and there are more jobs within the game as well. I touched on more professionals. There are more jobs within the game, sports science, analysts. There are a lot more jobs in the game than there were, but you'd be surprised at the amount of diverse courses that the lads and the girls undertake. I think we've got forensic biologists and doctors and pilots and lots of teachers. Teaching is becoming very popular. So from that side of it, that's a big part, I think, of what we have to do to try and help. Because ultimately, if they get their second careers up and away, you know, hopefully they won't fall on hard times later on, or, you know, they won't need that side of the PFA's help.
They obviously speak very highly of the PFA, and there's a lot of good work done, but there's some low points, especially recently with Adam Johnson and things. I'm sure it's something that's been difficult to deal with.
Yeah, obviously people get into trouble, not just footballers, but obviously we're the footballers union, so we have to be there and be a help if we can. And obviously when it comes to court cases and things like that, you leave that to the law of the land to decide. Obviously
the PFA wanted Johnson to be playing football, but he did initially say he was innocent. I know it's a tricky one to talk about. John, skip past that. It's completely fair enough. But overall, your time as PFA chairman, despite those low points, enjoyable? Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's a huge honour when I got elected as chairman. And I knew from the outset, because I'd worked under Chris Powell before and Clark Carlisle when they were chairman, that there are difficult points ahead, and there will be for me going forward and the next chairman. But I think that gets probably highlighted more than all the other stuff we do. And it's probably not for us to go shouting from the rooftops about all the fantastic letters we receive from ex-members saying thank you and the help and the guidance we've given them. That's what we like and our members like, that we've been there for them. We don't publicise it as much. People have, off their own back, spoken very highly of the PFA when their careers come to an end, or during their career when they may have had a problem with a club during their career, not something that's happened outside football. And we hopefully will always continue to make strides, not stand still. There are issues within the game that we're always working on, and we can only try and always improve for the good of the union, but obviously that's for the good of the members as well. So, 20-year career, PFA chairman, promotions, relegations, what's been the highlight of your career? I've been asked it a lot recently, that must be because I'm going to the end of my career. Promotions as a group are something that will never go away. We got promoted at Hartlepool twice, once in 2000 and... Not quote you on this. 3, and once in 2007. And we got to playoff final in 2005, and League One playoff final. And that group of players, I'll see in the summer. We'll get together, and when you're in people's company that you enjoy, it's an amazing thing. It's like you're back in the changing room again. And that's me and my experience, but there'll be other footballers around the country. At the PFA Awards, there's an old group of Spurs players that come every year, and they must be their get-together that they have.
and you can see it. And when people have been successful, it's obvious to see that they like being in each other's company. So those promotions, because they're hard, obviously it's over 46 games, winning the championship here, I've been promoted twice before, but never won it. So the trophy that's just right there staring at us, to lift that when I'd already sort of thought the best parts of my career might have been over at 35, to lift that, to play at Wembley, named the PFA Chairman. My little boy was born that year.
Not bad then.
It was an amazing year. It was an amazing year. Played 50 games, and it was just, let's say, to finally win something. And again, that's another group of players that will always have that together. You know, if we do anything else in our careers, we'll always have the memories of lifting the trophy out on the pitch on the last day of the season. So, and obviously, ultimately, 700 odd games. Had a testimonial at Hartlepool, broke the all-time appearance record for Hartlepool. Played in the Premiership as a young player, representing England under 21s. But I suppose, you know, being the chairman of the Players' Union is a huge, and this is sort of off the field, isn't it? But it's a huge responsibility and a huge honour for me to do that.
Low points?
Plenty. A couple of relegations. Again, the total opposite, because it's not. When I got relegated, it wasn't so much. I felt terrible for myself and my family, but I also felt terrible for the guy sat next to me and his family, and what if he didn't get a new contract? And then you've got the fans around the outside. They're, you know, have supported you all season. You've let them down. Ultimately, the manager and the staff, they could lose their job because teams are being relegated. So you feel responsible for all sorts of things, and you know, especially if you've contributed, if you've played pretty much every game as well, you've had a big part to play in that. So they're the downs of football where you've got to overcome them, and you've got to reflect on the summer that you don't ever want that to happen again, and do your utmost. So whilst I have had some great highlights, there's low points as well. I've been okay. Been okay with injuries. I had one or two. I had a broken foot, but apart from that, just a few muscle strains, nothing too bad. So I feel myself fortunate from that point of view. So
we've talked about, obviously, you being at Hartlepool, record appearance maker, and the extended time you've had at Chesterfield, going to management, and there's a whole host of other clubs you've been at. Which is sort of your club you look back the most fondly at, or the club you would say that's my favourite?
Well, I can't ever, you know, I played from I was a Sheffield United fan as a kid, but I played for Sheffield Wednesday. One of my, you know, not many people get to play for one of their hometown teams, and obviously being here for the last few years has been incredible, because I only live, you know, sort of down the road. We had brilliant success, but you can't, you know, 12 years of my football career I was at one football club. That was Hartlepool, and obviously being their all-time appearance maker, was named their player of the century and player of the decade, and there's so many connections with me in my career and Hartlepool, and I never thought that would probably come to an end, but it did, and you have to again pick yourself up, move on, and try and be successful.
Brilliant, thanks for your time. I really enjoyed it. It's been a pleasure.